Chicago, 1930. Al Capone rules the city. Corruption runs deep, and one federal agent dares to fight back. Released in 1987, The Untouchables brought that war to life with style, drama, and a production story most fans had never heard about. Brian De Palma's crime masterpiece isn't your typical gangster film. Based on the real-life pursuit of Al Capone during Prohibition, the movie blends historical truth with Hollywood mythology. Kevin Costner plays the straight-arrow Eliot Ness. Sean Connery delivers an Oscar-winning turn as Irish beat cop Jim Malone. Robert De Niro transforms into Capone himself, and Andy Garcia rounds out the team as sharpshooter George Stone. David Mamet wrote the crackling dialogue. Ennio Morricone composed the unforgettable score. The production shot on location in Chicago, using the city's authentic 1930s architecture to stunning effect. But beneath that polished surface, the making of this film was anything but smooth. From last-minute casting changes to dangerous stunts and budget battles, The Untouchables barely made it to the screen in the form we know today. Let's dig into 12 facts about this film that never made the headlines. 1. Fact 1. Robert De Niro replaced Bob Hoskins at the last minute. Most people don't know that Robert De Niro wasn't the first choice for Al Capone. Director Brian De Palma initially hired British actor Bob Hoskins for the role. When De Niro suddenly became available, De Palma made the switch just weeks before filming began. The studio had to buy out Hoskins' contract, and De Palma reportedly sent him a significant payment as compensation. Hoskins later joked it was the best job he never had. He even called De Palma, asking if there were any other films he didn't want him in. Fact 2. De Niro gained 30 pounds and wore period silk underwear. Here's where things get interesting. With shooting starting in just weeks, De Niro went into full method mode. He traveled to Italy and ate constantly to pack on 30 pounds. He wanted to look as round and imposing as the real Capone, but weight wasn't enough. De Niro also shaved part of his hairline to match Capone's receding look. He tracked down the mob boss's original tailors and had them create identical suits for him. That included custom silk underwear from the 1930s, even though it never appears on screen. De Niro insisted he needed to feel the luxury Capone lived in. The total screen time for all this preparation? Less than 10 minutes. Fact 3. Kevin Costner wasn't the first choice. Kevin Costner wasn't a household name when he landed the role of Eliot Ness. De Palma didn't even want him at first. The studio announced Jack Nicholson for the role back in 1985, while Harrison Ford and Michael Douglas were also considered. When Costner's name came up, De Palma called his friend Steven Spielberg, who worked with Costner on a small film called Fandango. Spielberg told him to hire Costner immediately because the guy was going places. De Palma listened, and it became Costner's breakthrough role, launching him into stardom just before Dances with Wolves. Fact 4. The Union Station scene was originally set in a hospital. One of cinema's most iconic shootouts was changed during production. The baby carriage rolling down the stairs, the slow-motion gunfight, that entire Union Station sequence wasn't in the original script. David Mamet's screenplay called for the scene to take place in a hospital, but since Mamet was unavailable to revise the script during production, De Palma wrote it himself. He moved the location to Chicago's Union Station and paid homage to Sergei Einstein's Battleship Potemkin, recreating the famous Odessa Steps sequence with a modern twist. What started as a production necessity became the film's defining moment. Fact 5. Every line came from David Mamet's script. Halfway through, and the revelations keep coming. Sean Connery delivers some of the most quotable dialogue in crime cinema history. Lines like, "That's the Chicago way," and "What are you prepared to do?" became instant classics. Many fans assumed Connery improvised them, given his natural charisma and commanding presence, but every single word came from David Mamet's razor-sharp script. Mamet, the legendary playwright, crafted dialogue that felt both poetic and brutal. Connery later said he loved the screenplay so much he signed on immediately, and the role earned him his first and only Academy Award. Fact 6. The film was shot in just 13 weeks. Despite its epic scope, The Untouchables had a punishing shooting schedule, principal photography wrapped in just 13 weeks. For a period film with elaborate costumes, multiple Chicago locations, and complex action sequences, that timeline was incredibly tight. The production cost between $20 and $23 million, modest for a film of this scale. De Palma's efficiency as a director kept things moving. His visual style, honed over decades, meant he knew exactly what he needed. No wasted shots, no unnecessary takes. Every frame served the story. Fact 7. De Palma rewrote the ending. David Mamet's original script ended with text explaining the repeal of Prohibition and what happened to the characters afterward. De Palma threw that out. He wanted a more cinematic finish. Instead of epilogue text, the film ends with Ness closing up his office after Capone's conviction. A reporter asked what he'll do when Prohibition ends. Ness replies simply, "I think I'll have a drink." That final line, delivered with quiet satisfaction, became one of the movie's most memorable moments. De Palma understood the power of understatement. Fact 8. The baseball bat scene was based on a real murder. And we're only halfway through. Al Capone's most terrifying moment in the film shows him beating a man to death with a baseball bat during a dinner. Audiences assumed this was Hollywood exaggeration. It wasn't. In May 1929, not 1928, Capone discovered that 3 of his most trusted men, John Scalise, Albert Anselmi, and Joseph Gunther, were plotting to kill him. According to legend, Capone invited them to a banquet in their honor, then produced a baseball bat and beat them nearly to death before gunmen finished them off. Their bodies were found on a road near Hammond, Indiana, so brutally disfigured, the coroner said he'd never seen anything like it. The scene remains one of De Niro's most chilling performances, grounded in horrifying fact. Fact 9. Ennio Morricone wasn't satisfied with his own score. The legendary composer, Ennio Morricone, delivered one of his most powerful scores for this film. The main theme, with its dramatic trumpets and pounding rhythm, elevates every scene and became instantly recognizable. But here's the twist. Morricone later admitted he wasn't entirely satisfied with the music. He felt it was rushed compared to his work with Sergio Leone on the spaghetti westerns. Audiences disagreed completely. The score earned an Oscar nomination, and critics praised its ability to capture both the heroism and tragedy of Ness's crusade. Sometimes artists are their own harshest critics. Fact 10. Jim Malone never existed. Sean Connery's character, the grizzled Irish cop who mentors Ness, feels like the heart of the film. Audiences connected with Malone's wisdom, his tough love, and his tragic death. Here's the thing, Jim Malone is completely fictional. He's a composite character created for the movie. The real Eliot Ness worked primarily with Treasury agents and IRS investigators, not street cops. David Mamet invented Malone to give the story emotional weight and to serve as Ness's guide into the brutal realities of fighting Capone. Connery brought him to life so convincingly that many viewers still believe Malone was real. Even Ness's wife in the film, Catherine, was fictional. The real Ness was married to Edna Staley at the time. Fact 11. The film became a box office hit. After The Untouchables premiered in New York on June 2, 1987, it opened nationwide the next day in over 1,000 theaters. Opening day earnings exceeded $1.8 million, and the film went on to earn over $76 million domestically. That made it the 5th most successful release of 1987, a massive hit for Paramount. Sean Connery won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, while the film also received nominations for Art Direction, Costume Design, and Morricone's original score. Critics praised De Palma's visual mastery and the performances across the board. Fact 12. A prequel was developed but never made. After the success of The Untouchables, Paramount wanted more. De Palma and the studio developed a prequel that would follow Al Capone's rise to power before he clashes with Ness. The project went through various stages of development for years, with Antoine Fuqua originally attached to direct in 2004 before De Palma took over in 2005. By 2007, Gerard Butler had signed on to star, and Nicolas Cage was in negotiations to play Capone, but left due to scheduling difficulties. De Palma said in a November 2007 interview that he needed to start shooting during winter to recreate the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, but if he couldn't cast the lead role within a month, he'd move on. The project never came together, and The Untouchables remains a standalone masterpiece, which might be for the best. The Untouchables endures because it does something rare. It takes historical events, infuses them with Hollywood drama, and creates something that feels both authentic and mythic. De Palma's visual mastery, Mamet's sharp dialogue, Connery's warmth, De Niro's menace, Morricone's soaring music, every element clicks into place. The film captured the romance of the gangster era while never losing sight of the violence beneath. It showed that doing the right thing comes with a cost, and that sometimes you have to break the rules to uphold them. Decades later, it remains one of the most stylish crime dramas ever made, a perfect blend of history and Hollywood magic. Which fact surprised you most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the films that shaped cinema history.